When Sandra Bernhard was growing up, many of the female comics she saw on TV worked a similar theme.
My body's in such bad shape, I wear prescription underwear.
As funny as they were, it was a lot of self-deprecating stuff, and Sandra vowed never to do that. Her point of view was this: I'll be who I want, I'll look how I want, I'll say what I want, get used to it.
Call the and tell them what I said tonight.
And that's how it's gone in her one-person shows. Sandra does not hold back, pushing boundaries, ripping politicians,
Intimidated, frightened, right-wing Republicans.
and exposing the hypocrisy she sees in celebrity culture. She's made her mark off stage as well, as an unhinged stalker in Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy.
Wouldn't you like to see me out of my head? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be fabulous?
And on Roseanne, as one of the first regular gay characters on network TV.
I mean, I'm not comfortable with everything about you either. Every time I think about you and Dan in bed, ugh.
And now, brace yourselves, glorious nation. Sandra's bringing her infamous stage show to these parts as a headliner at the Canadian International Comedy Fest. Please welcome to the show, Sandra Bernhard! Welcome. Welcome to the show. How's things?
It's great to be here. Great. Fantastic.
I love being me. Don't you? Don't you?
Yes.
Is that oftentimes when people title a project, it's sarcastic.
It's laced with irony.
Yeah, so much so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's actually sort of, you know, a comment on things like Twitter and Facebook, because now everybody's constantly, you know, talking about themselves. So it's like, I love being me, don't you? So, I mean, we're all looking for, like, you know, the approval of everybody in the world who we don't know, and it's often at the expense of the people that we actually love.
Right. It's an interesting thing. I wonder where we go as a culture in 10 years.
Yes.
What are we going to be as a culture in your estimation in 10 years?
Well, I think there'll be a culture of people that are disinterested in history, not reading, and not communicating. So I don't really know. I don't really know where that leaves us. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook is one of the most insidious things that was ever invented.
But people know this. That's the thing. People know this about it, right?
Say it. Say it. Shout it. I am anti-social media.
I know you're young, and you were young for this, but how big an impact was the Bobby Kennedy assassination in your life?
Well, actually, it was very big, as was the John Kennedy assassination. I mean, I was very little and very impressionable, and the Kennedys were, you know, a very romanticized family. And I feel like, you know, made an impact on the world.
The positive, if there could be one, is it also set the tone for people who became about something.
What I was thinking was, you know, where is it now? You know what I mean? Where is that sort of, you know, unity over an issue? I mean, we all sort of sit back and allow ourselves to be trampled, whether it's, you know, it's gay marriage or health care or women's reproductive issues. It's like, certainly down in the States, everybody is like, yes, they're on the internet talking about it, but you don't see the marches, you don't see people taking to the streets to say, hey, this isn't going to happen. We're going to, like, get together and say absolutely no to this.
Well, you get a sense, I know up here, certainly, the marriage equality conversation is changing. You're starting to see the numbers are shifting, even in middle America.
Yes.
More and more people, reproductive health for women, reproductive rights for women. How do you feel about where that conversation is going?
Well, I'm concerned about where it's headed, you know, in these very, like, you know, far-right states like North Dakota, it's you know, it's constantly on the line, and, you know, organizations like Planned Parenthood and NARAL are always out there trying to, like, you know, regroup and fight the fight again. And it's like, why are older or middle-aged white men making the decisions for women? I've never understood this. I mean, it's shocking. And the other misnomer about women is that we, like, want to have abortions. Like, nobody wants to have an abortion. But guess what? If sex education isn't available to kids in school, if proper birth control isn't available through our health care plans, but Viagra is covered, then where does that leave us? Occasionally, women get pregnant, and occasionally it's not the right thing. So let's continue to bring kids in the world who we don't have the resources to educate them, to take care of them. Crime goes up. You know, there's this sort of, like, cycle of poverty and violence that all spawns from this. I think it's actually a sort of a draconian measure you know, by the white, you know, male to keep people down so they can use them for their war machine and just keep that cycle going.
I want to show you a picture. Let's go back to the day and tell me what you tell this girl.
Oh, I would say you're headed for greatness, and you see it in your eyes. But we're going to change the hair.
Dude, that hair.
That was a shag, honey. That was a shag in the day.
If you rocked that hair in Williamsburg right now, you'd be in a band in New York.
That's true. I would. I'd be on that show, Girls.
Who do you make? Are you a fan of that show?
I am a fan, although I think the season kind of, you know, went off the rails a little bit. Although the finale it kind of resurrected it for me.
It's interesting the reaction that show got. It was as if no matter what Lena did, people were going to find a way to jump on it. Is it just because it was a bunch of young girls in New York?
Well, I think that everybody was like just amazed that somebody who wasn't, you know, stereotypically beautiful felt good about herself and was allowed to be who she was and still feel like she could have sex with whoever she wanted to. I mean, that was sort of like to break down the barriers. I mean, we live in this postmodern society where women feel like they have to go and, like, you know, get face work and lose weight and put themselves in jeopardy physically to you know, to come up to this, you know, these unexpected, you know, ideals of femininity and sexiness. That's just so twisted. It's like, I mean, I see people now and I go, what happened to your face? You know? I mean, back in the day, people were always like, if you don't get your nose done, you're never going to make it in this business. I was like, but my nose is so groovy, and I love my nose. and I want to breathe and be real. And so I hung in there with my nose. I've done okay.
You've done fine. But you were in the beauty differently. I mean, you weren't out there performing surgery, but you were in the beauty industry, right? And you've got the show now, or you had the show, the manicure show.
Yes, I was a manicurist to support myself when I started off in the business.
So what can you learn about a person spending time on their nails?
Well, you're looking down a lot. So I'm telling you, I'm looking at my nails right now and thinking, this is a Shonda. I swore I was going to throw a couple of coats of paint on, but we got in so late today that I didn't have a chance to do it. So forgive me for my very pale winter hand.
Listen.
At least you don't have to look at my winter foot, though. That's a real mess.
Is it that bad?
Well, you know, a dry winter foot. Is there anything worse?
I have them.
Everybody has them. I mean, especially on the East Coast when it's cold, like no matter what you do, like you have to like constantly, like, you know, slough off the dead skin and rub, you know, put on a little sock at night. It's not sexy.
Okay, hold on. We're going to work on each other's cuticles. We'll have more with Sandra Bernhard right after this.
Hey, look at this real grouch dining.
Tonight's special are roast beef with butterscotch and anchovies.
What about my Jell-O?
Keep your shirt on! Ham with donuts, oatmeal sauce, and...
Stop.
And tossed salad.
Tossed salad.
2 tossed salads!
Coming right up.
Follow that bird.
You know what? We shot that here in Toronto.
What was that like?
It was fun.
It's Sesame Street, man.
Yeah.
It's a moment to be in the part of the Sesame Street
You know
story.
how many people I run into, like moms, who, oh, when I was, you know, my babies were little, they'd watch you and follow that bird, and I was like, I love that, you know.
Okay, I'm going to rapid fire some questions your way and answer apology. Let's see what you got, okay?
All right.
If I were fishing for a compliment, what bait should I use?
Worms.
Whose life would you like for a week?
Wow, they really are throwing me off the loop here. Hillary Clinton. Why not?
What's the first thing you do when you check into a hotel room?
Complain.
Who's meaner on set? Oscar, the Grouch, or Jerry Lewis?
That's a toss-up.
Tell me what that experience was like with Jerry.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, you know, I don't think he'd ever worked with a woman like me. You know, he'd always cast like these kind of like ditzy blondes, and those are the women he was used to working with. But you know, I think it worked for the relationship, and I certainly have had and have great respect for the comedic genius that he brought to, you know, cinema and the world. But he's a bit of a sexist. But certainly, I think that generation's dying off, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't, you know, trickle down to the next generation.
Do you know what you're making when you're making it? Do you know it?
Well, King of Comedy was something that everybody knew was going to be, at the very least, a controversial film. And there were so many actresses up for that role, including Meryl Streep and Deborah Winger. And they just wanted somebody who was a bit of an oddball for it. And so I won the role. And, you know, it wasn't a box office sensation, but it's certainly become you know, one of those films that's evergreen and legendary.
It's, I think, one of the greatest films ever made.
Thank you.
Like, it's an if people haven't seen King Kong, you have to see it.
Yeah, it really was, you know, prophetic in many ways.
Certainly.
About fame.
You're a fan of Stevie Nicks, Joni Mitchell, Lana Miles. Would you rather be caught in a landslide, run over by a big yellow taxi, or smothered in black velvet?
Smothered in black velvet. Black velvet, if you try.
It's a nice record, right?
Yeah, I love that song.
A real pleasure to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sandra Bernhard, everybody. Performing tomorrow night at the Winter Garden Theatre in Toronto, part of the Canadian International Comedy Fest. And we're going to put all the tour dates up for her show on our website, which is Strombo.com.
Thank you so much.